It seems like you study life a lot.
And I didn't know if I could do it, man.
The greatest challenge you've had since leaving the game?
And that's something I always live by. You know, I'm not going to rest. I'm going to keep on pushing now. There are a lot of answers that I don't have, even questions that I don't have. But I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going, and I'll figure these things out as you go, right? And you just continue to build that way.
You're up at like 4 a.m. lifting by yourself in the dark. One of the most incredible careers, arguably of all time. You know, made all the money in the world.
You're not going to outwork me.
Who was the greatest teacher for you in those early days?
It's funny, man. I had a lot of them. You know, my parents were great. You know, growing up, you know, they instilled in me the importance of imagination, of curiosity, and understanding that, okay, if you want to accomplish something, I'm not just going to sit here and say, yes, you can do whatever you want. Yes, you can, but you have to also put in the work to get there, right? So they taught me that at a really early age, man. And when you grow up as a kid thinking that the world is your oyster and all things are possible if you put in the work to do it, you know, you grow up having that fundamental belief. Both were influential at different points.
Yeah.
Right. My mom was there on a daily basis. My father was really influential at a really critical time where I had a summer where I played basketball when I was like 10 or 11 years old, in a very prominent summer league in Philadelphia called the Sunny Hill League, where my father played, my uncle played, and they were like all-time greats and that sort of stuff. And Wilt Chamberlain played in the league, you know, Earl of Monroe played in the league. And here I come playing, and I don't score 1 point the entire summer.
Really?
Not one.
How old were you?
10, 11.
And you're playing against other 10, 11-year-olds? Or, and you didn't score once?
Not one.
Were you in the game?
I was in the game.
How'd you not score?
Because I was terrible.
Really?
Yeah.
That at 10, 11 years old, you were that
awful.
terrible.
I mean, and I had these big knee pads on because I was growing really fast. And I had socks all the way up here, and I had like the high top
skinny,
like skinny as hell. And I scored not a free throw, nothing, not a lucky shot, not a breakaway layup, 0 points. And I remember crying about it and being upset about it. And my father just gave me a hug and said, listen, whether you score 0 or score 60, I'm going to love you no matter what.
Wow.
Now that is the most important thing that you can say to a child. Because from there, I was like, okay, that gives me all the confidence in the world to fail. I have the security there. But to hell with that, I'm scoring 60. Let's go.
Right.
And from there, I just went to work. And I stayed with it. And I kept practicing. Listen, if you're going to do that. But don't let that compromise what we're here to do. There's a quote from one of my English teachers at Lower Merion named Mr. Fisk. He had a great quote that said, rest at the end, not in the middle. So it's a simple thing of math. If you want to be a great player, if you play every single day, 2-3 hours, every single day, over the course of a year, how much better are you getting? Most kids will play maybe, you know, an hour and a half, 2 days a week.
Right.
Do the math on that. It's not going to get it done. And that's something I always live by. You know, I'm not going to rest. I'm going to keep on pushing now. There are a lot of answers that I don't have, even questions that I don't have. But I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going, and I'll figure these things out as we go, right? And you just continue to build that way. I'll give you an example. So Katie Lou Samuelson is one of the best college basketball players in the country. She plays at UConn. She's going to be a senior.
Right now.
Yeah. And she's from Huntington Beach, out here by us, and so she comes down and she works with some of my girls on the team, and she helps coach. And they just had a really tough season last year where they lost to Notre Dame in the final.
That's right.
Really tough.
First loss in like years, right?
Yeah. And so I asked her, I said, have you watched the Notre Dame game? She was like, no. I said, well, why not? She said, I don't want to watch that. I said, I know you don't, but you're going to play Notre Dame this year, yeah? Yeah. There's a chance that you see them again in the final. Probably see me again. So, well, you can't show up and play them without knowing why you lost that one, right? So, you know, the mistakes that you've made in that game, you have to do the hard stuff and watch that game and study that game to not make those mistakes over and over again just because you weren't brave enough to face it. So she came down to the office. I brought her down to the office and we sat down, we watched that game together, right? And you gotta deal with it.
Face it.
You gotta deal with it. Face it, learn from it.
I saw on Instagram that you're up at like 4 a.m. lifting by yourself in the dark. And again, you've had one of the most incredible careers, arguably of all time. Made all the money in the world, got a freaking Oscar now. You've got all these other things happening, and yet you're still waking up, or at least you're in the gym at 4 a.m. working out.
It's really hard because there's no end goal.
There's no game, there's no season, there's no.
So how do you motivate yourself to do it?
How do you?
And so for me, it was like, okay, I have to aim for something. So I said, I want to aim for size. I want to aim for bulk, right? So that's a tangible thing. I'm going to go for that, right? But then also, it's my children, because your kids can't see how hard you work. You go to the office, I come in the studio, they don't really see the effort, right? So how can we teach our children what it means to work hard? Well, you do it through training, right? So when I get up in the morning, my daughter goes with me.
4 a.m.?
4 a.m. My 15-year-old goes with me. She goes with me before school, and it becomes a daddy-daughter thing.
That's cool.
She just got her permit, right? So she drives in the morning. It becomes a cool thing, right? But through that process, she understands the value of hard work and things taking time. I think I describe it as a beautiful journey. It has its ups and downs, right? Whether it's in marriage, or whether it's in the career, things are never perfect. But through love, you continue to persevere, and you move through them. You move through them, and then through that storm, beautiful sun emerges. Right. And inevitably, another storm comes, and guess what? You ride that one out too. So I think love is a certain determination and persistence to go through the good times and the bad times with the someone or something that you truly love.
And your book is out in October. It's called Mamba Mindset. Do you want to talk briefly about that?
Well, the mentality book is really about process and craft. I've broken the book up into 2 sections. And process is really about the process of preparing, through injury, recovery, studying of the game. And then the craft is the actual performance and the tactics. And so a lot of things that I learned through the game were through photos. You can look at a photo and see like a player making a move, and look at the angle of his feet, look how he's using his hands on defense, and I can really break down things to the smallest detail through that. And that's what you'll see in this book. I mean, it's really a basketball Bible.
Yeah. Mamba Mentality, but it's also your mindset Bible, right?
Yeah. Well, you'll see how I break things down, like how I'm looking at things to the smallest of detail.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to understand how to have that kind of mentality, is to ask questions and then find answers. And then that leads to more questions and you find more answers. And that's what the book is.
I love it. The final question is, what's your definition of greatness?
I think the definition of greatness is to inspire the people next to you. I think that's what greatness is or should be. It's not something that lives and dies with one person. It's how can you inspire a person to then in turn inspire another person that then inspires another person. And that's how you create something that I think lasts forever. Yeah. And I think that's our challenge as people, is to figure out how our story can impact others and motivate them in a way to create their own greatness.